do terrible things. When they murdered us, a blood debt was created. Our spirits could not enter into the spirit realm without retribution.
Somebody help me!
It has to happen here.
What has to happen?
The end.
Brendan, Jeff in Las Vegas. Good morning.
Hey, Jeff, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Does this guy look familiar or?
Yeah, I think I recognize him.
You know, I'm born and raised in Las Vegas. I'm from the Silver State, so mining is a big industry here. Lots of mining ghost towns as well. And so just the idea of you having this crazy prospector, you know, such a cool idea for a horror film.
Well, thank you.
And, you know, I'm being from Las Vegas, so I can identify with Kyle. You know, I have asthma. He has asthma. He's from Las Vegas. So I'm glad he stuck around most of the movie, you know, so I can identify with him.
Yeah, almost all the movie he
Yes,
left.
yes.
Yeah.
You know, and Stephanie Barkley, who's your lead in this, you know, why isn't she a star? I mean, she is just so amazing in this film. She has the looks, she has the talent. I'm surprised I don't see her more.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm hoping, I'm sure she's hoping too that her star will rise. I think she put in, well, I don't think, I know she put in a super strong performance here. And I found her through our casting director in LA, and she did several auditions. And while I had, you know, several good auditions from other prospective actors, she just took it up a notch in her auditions and really showed that the role was she was a great fit for the role, like you said, with the look, the attitude, everything about it. She really knocked it out of the park.
And her character is suffering from trauma or hallucinations that keep reoccurring in the film.
Yeah, kind of like a PTSD thing from what happened to her before, but also she's kind of getting messages about what's maybe in her future, or what lies ahead of her, or what's kind of what she has a feeling, a premonition in her that she's missing something, and this is kind of putting her on the trail of finding out what's going on with her.
And tell me about the Native American influence in your movie.
Well, I lived in Southwest Colorado for a long time and used to visit Moab all the time during the spring and the off seasons, stuff like that, and really kind of enjoyed the area. So it started with the area there as far as the locale and building the plot from that. And to ignore the indigenous people in that part of the country, I think would be, you know, a mistake. You know, they were there they're still there, you know. All the extras in the film are natives right off the Navajo reservation or in that area. The place we filmed at was a long time Navajo caves and kind of sacred land for them, which we did get permission to film. It's on private property, but I did talk to the local tribal leaders about it. And I thought that anything that involved the land of the Canyonlands also needed to involve the people who made that their home for thousands of years before we got there. And so it just kind of the story evolved from the locale, and placing the indigenous people there was very important to them.
Yeah, my roommate is Navajo, and his family is on the reservation of Window Rock. And he watched this with me, and he thought it was pretty cool how the natives were represented in the storyline.
Oh, that's great. That's good for me to hear. You know, I'm obviously not Native, and I really wanted to portray them in a positive way, and also use authentic Native actors and the musicians who played the music and for the score.
Yeah, Wayne Charles Baker was phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, Wayne's a great guy, and a talented, the consummate professional, talented actor. When his audition came in remotely, he spends his time between British Columbia and remote Canadian New York border, so he's not the easiest person to get with. But when his audition came in, it was just a no-brainer, really, for that role.
I think my favorite character in your movie was Sheldon Brown, Dave. I think he was he just blew me away more than anyone else.
We used to call him Mr. One Take because he just needs one take, and he just has this uncanny. I mean, all the casts are great and all the actors are great. I'm not trying to slight anybody, but Sheldon in particular just has this ability to reproduce takes exactly the same. He's an editor's dream because he just does everything the same. and just really, really quality actor that I think people are going to see more of in the future. That Dave was an interesting role because I wanted to. The way I wrote it was that he's kind of the audience in the film. You know, typically in horror movies of genre films like this, you get people doing dumb decisions on screen to put them into bad spots, and a lot of times the people in the audience is like, "Why are you going in there? Don't do that. Call the police. Do this." And if you watch the film, that's what Dave is essentially telling all these other people is like, "Don't do that. That's stupid." Or, "Why aren't we calling the police? Let's go."
He came across as the comic relief kind of to me because he said everything with a little levity in it.
Yeah, he for sure is the comic relief, but that he also kind of represents the audience in the film a little bit more of a grounding of like, hey, what are y'all doing? We should just get the hell out of here, you know.
And I've heard a lot of horror films that they have to be considerate of the budget for these special effects. So in terms of the physical effects, how did you find your artists to do all the blood and everything?
Faina, who's the head makeup and hair artist for the film, is really good. I mean, she is really good. Not only is she amazing at producing effects, she's also really fast, which is very important when you're having to redress sets and taking care of all the cast at once. You know, I'll have to also say that some of the blood is VFX post effects in it. Just for that reason, if you spray blood on all sorts of clothes, it just takes so much longer to redress the set. So as far as time, because we were on a very tight shooting schedule, some of that is VFX. But she was actually friends with the first AD, Matt Webb, who recommended me to her, and yeah, she did a fantastic job.
What were you shot this film in Moab, Utah. So what were the challenges of shooting on the water and all that rugged terrain? It had to be a nightmare.
It was, yeah. It was a very difficult production. I live in Las Vegas as well, and
do you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Hi.
Yeah. How's it going?
It's going great.
Could have easily shot this out 20 minutes from town. Lake Mead is the Colorado River, right? So
easily, yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of and use establishing shots from the Canyonlands and just film the rest of it here. I think a lot of films on our budget level probably would have done that, and it would have been smart. I just felt like that for a film that's called the Canyonlands, that really wanted to make the land another character, that we really had to be out there. We had to be in the Canyonlands to really not necessarily pull it off, but to really make it feel viable to me. And we were.
You didn't want to fake it. You didn't want to fake it. Yeah, it doesn't look like Las Vegas. Doesn't look like Clark County at all.
Yeah. I would hope not. And we were 20 miles outside of Moab, as close as you can possibly be to the Canyonlands National Park. Our river filming permit went up to the park. You have to be educational filming for like the Discovery Channel or Aerial America or something like that to film in national parks. But we were out there, and that of course presented all sorts of logistical problems as far as, there's no cell phone service out there. So we had to have sat phones for any emergencies, and, medics there constantly, always there. We had to truck in all our water, just solar electricity at the place we were staying. So recharging all our batteries for all this remote shooting of lights and cameras. So we shot in 8K, which is amazing because there's a 4K version of this film, but it also means your battery gets drained on your camera in about 20 minutes. And so we're just constantly looking for energy, trucking in gas, and then food and catering. There's no going down to 7-Eleven after, you're done shooting for the crew or the cast or anything. We were stuck out there for a month. So everything that we needed to support a production had to be brought in over a pass down a 4x4 road. And yeah, it was, even for probably a $10 million production, it would have been problematic.
And finally today, you have horror icons in these movies, like a Freddy Krueger or Jason, and all like that. And you have this cool character right here, Pete. How come doesn't he have a name? Like, didn't you call him a prospector or just something kind of hip? Because I'm looking through the credits and I'm like, where's the name? Where's prospector or the ghost or something? And it just said Pete.
I believe Pete does have a last name. I have to go look at the character bio I wrote for him, but
Right.
it's never mentioned. His name's never mentioned, as opposed to as well as Two Rivers, Wayne's characters. Their names are never mentioned in the film. I'm not quite sure why it came out with Pete's, but yeah, Marcus did a great job. Like I said, I'm the kind of the product of the 80s. So I grew up on the original Friday the 13th and the original Nightmare on Elm Streets. And I kind of wanted to, not Freddy Krueger, but Freddy Krueger kind of has an attitude and a swagger about him, and that's what I kind of wanted this villain to have as well. It doesn't have a lot of lines and it's not to the end, but Marcus really brought kind of a swagger and attitude towards the role that I was looking for, as opposed to just straight, Jason doesn't talk, right? He just kind of, other than the second one, he doesn't talk there, but he's kind of a normal man in Friday the 13th Part 2. And as it becomes more supernatural, he just kind of like stalks you silently through the So there's a little bit of that going on in the canyons where Pete is chasing around. Of course, he doesn't have to necessarily chase because he's not a real person, but I wanted him to have some sort of an attitude a la Freddy Krueger, and I think Marcus really pulled it off.
Well, it's open for sequels, definitely. And all it takes is one of your characters in the sequel to go, the prospector. That's all you got to say. That's all you got to say. It'll set it up, and then people will say that from now on, because there is no prospector villain, so.
Well, I think of my Bloody Valentine, I mean, that's.
Yeah, but this is a classic miner, You being from Las Vegas, I always remember when McCarran was under expansion, they had a little character named Dusty Mack, and he was a miner,
Yeah.
So I kept thinking, this would be a great backstory of this character for a sequel to find out, even more details, about the mining family and all. I thought it'd be pretty cool.
I do have an idea. I don't know if there's ever going to be a sequel to this, but the idea I have for a sequel is to kind of go back in a time and explore more of Pete's story about what was happening back in the late 1800s. So we'll see if that ever happens.
Yeah, we need a horror film in Western times. We need a Western. So.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Well, great job, Brendan. It was a real good horror film, great production values, and awesome that you live in Las Vegas too. I'm a native. So congratulations on the film, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good, Jeff. Thank you. Appreciate it.